Okay, so here we go with our next lesson on proportional reasoning. So far in this chapter, we've looked at ratios and we've looked at rates. So what we're going to do today is use those ideas from ratios and rates and link them to something called proportional reasoning. Before we start, let's go back and review what a ratio is. So ratios compare two quantities that are measured in the same units. So for example, red cars to blue cars. We would find them in a ratio of 3 to 4. Okay. Rates are similar to ratios in that they also compare two quantities, but the key difference is that they're measured in two different units. So they compare two quantities measured in different units. So Monday's lesson, we looked at rates, we looked at unit rates, we looked at unit prices. An example here would be speed on a freeway. The speed would be 100 kilometers per 1 hour, and we could also write that as 100 kilometers per hour. So a proportion then is a relationship that says either two ratios or two rates are equal to each other. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go through some examples practicing proportional reasoning. So in example 1, electricity costs 11.58 cents for 2 kilowatt hours. How much does 30 kilowatt hours cost? Give your answer to the nearest cent. I'm going to show you two different methods to do this question, and you can choose either method when you're working through your questions. So in method 1, we're going to set up a proportion. So electricity costs 11.58 cents for 2 kilowatt hours. How much does 30 kilowatt hours cost? Okay, and we can use cross multiplying, or here this one looks like I multiply the 2 by 15 to get 30. So I would do the same thing to the top, and my answer would be 173.7 cents. So it says to give your answer to the nearest cent, which would be 174 cents. Okay, which is really $1.74. So that's one way to do that question. In the second method, what we can do is we can find the rate first. We can find the unit rate first. Okay, so how much does electricity cost per kilowatt hour? And then we can multiply it by 30. So step 1 would be to find the unit rate. So 11.58 cents per 2 kilowatt hours, and per 1 kilowatt hour, how much does it cost? So we could use cross multiplying, or we could use, so here I go 11.58 times 1 divided by 2, and I get an answer of 5.79 cents per kilowatt hour. So that's about 6 cents per kilowatt hour. So that's my rate, 5.79 cents per kilowatt hour. And now what I'm going to do is, in step 2, I'm going to take the rate and multiply it by 30 kilowatt hours. So 5.79 times 30 gives me 173.7 cents, which once again rounds up to 174 cents. Okay, so 2 different methods. It's important that you understand both methods, but you can use either example. Okay, example 2. There are 6 boys for every 8 girls in every classroom at Uville High. How many girls are there in the school if the total number of boys is 42? Yes, this is a very small school here. So we have 6 boys for every 8 girls in each classroom. And if in the school there's a total of 42 boys, well, how many girls are there? So here we know that you can use cross multiplying. So you can cross multiply, or the quicker method here, I know that this needs to be multiplied by 7. So I would multiply this by 7, and 8 times 7 is 56 girls. Okay, on to the back side. Okay, so there's 3 examples on here for you to try. What I'd like you to do is pause the video, try these questions, and then play the video so that you can see if you got them correct. So you can go ahead and do that. So in number 1, there are 72 players for 8 baseball teams. Determine the number of players on just 2 teams. And here we divided by 4. So on the top we would divide by 4 as well, and we come up with 18 players. So that's our answer. And it says to show this using more than one way. So we could find the unit rate. What we could do is figure out how many players there are per team. So method 2. So we have 72 players per 8 teams, and our rate is 9 players per team, and then we would multiply it by 2. So 9 times 2 gives us 18 players as well. Okay, number 2, how much will a dozen erasers cost if 3 erasers cost 75 cents? And I always get this question in class, what's a dozen? So a dozen is 12. So 75 cents, from some students anyways, 75 cents for 3 erasers, and for 12 erasers we can multiply by 4 and multiply 75 cents by 4, which gives us 300 cents as our answer, which is just $3. So I'll just leave our answer in cents. And you could also use method 2 as well to find the rate, the unit price, and multiply it by 12. Number 3, 3 marbles cost $1.25. What is the cost of 12 marbles. So $1.25 for 3 marbles. What is the cost of 12 marbles? So we multiply it by 4, and on the top we multiply $1.25 by 4, which gives us $5. So 12 marbles cost $5. Okay, last example here. What you can do is you can actually compare rates by dividing to determine whether the quantities in a situation actually do have a proportional relationship. So let's use an example of a basketball game. In one game, a basketball player, earned over 8 games, a basketball player earned 20 points. Okay, so that's player number 1. So 20 divided by 8, because we're trying to come up with the unit rate here, is 2.5 points per game. And in another situation, another player got 55 points over 22 games. So his rate was 55 divided by 22 is also 2.5 points per game. Okay, so we can see here that their rates are equal. So I'll just write that down. The rates are equal. So this is a proportional relationship. I believe question number 10 in the workbook looks at it with example 3. Okay, and that concludes our lesson on proportional reasoning. So you can go ahead and start the workbook questions and submit them to me through the assignments tab, and we'll go from there. Thank you.